Life is a highway. It's full of twists, turns, and complex issues to try and navigate. Welcome to Retire the Right Way with Anthony Wright of Retirement Specialty Group. Each week, you'll hear us discuss the pitfalls and common investing mistakes we see people make. We'll also educate you about the financial world and encourage you to think about solutions to some of the problems and question marks you might face in your own financial life. So let's get on the right road to retirement with Anthony Wright here on Retire the Right Way.
Hello and welcome to Retire the Right Way. Marc here alongside with Anthony Wright of Retirement Specialty Group. Thank you so much for tuning into the program today as we talk about the world of finance and retirement. We got a great show lined up for you today, so stick around for some good content in the financial realm. Anthony and his team at Retirement Specialty Group, they are a great resource here in the Knoxville, Chattanooga, Crossville, and Sparta areas to get some advice and some information, education, if you will, about your retirement situation, your investing in your financial worlds. And Anthony, of course, is the president at Retirement Specialty Group, and he's always here with me on the program. How are you today, sir?
If I was any better, I'd be Marc Killian. You know him, don't you?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad you're doing well today. And if folks would like to reach out to you, they can call at 888-557-1993. So stop what you're doing, grab your phone, and call Anthony at 888-557-1993. What happens? Well, you call that number, you leave your contact information, and his great team at Retirement Specialty Group will get back with you ASAP, get you on the calendar, and have a conversation and help you in whatever way you need to be helped. Maybe you need to talk about tax planning or estate planning or your financial plan or mutual funds or Social Security or whatever the case is. They can certainly help you in that direction, but you got to get on the calendar to have that conversation. And as I said, we do have a great show lined up today, so go ahead and give a call anytime throughout the program. You don't have to wait for it to be over. 888-557-1993. And let's start with the mailbag this week, Anthony. We got questions. We do this every week, right? Questions come in from around the area. Yeah. But let's switch it up, and we usually do this at the end of the show. We're going to do it at the beginning of the show today.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, Kevin writes in from Chattanooga, and he says, hey, Anthony, I got a serious question for you. My employer says they're going to stop with the 401k matching contributions in the next couple of months because they need to offset the rising health insurance costs. So my thought is if I'm not getting the match, should I just stop contributing to the 401k and maybe save my money someplace else? Well, that's a new one. That's interesting.
Boy, that is a new one. I mean, that's really a good question there. You know, being in the financial industry, it's hard for me to say to somebody, no, don't ever contribute to a 401k.
Right. It's still the easiest way to save, right? Because it's automatic and all that.
I mean, it is because it comes right out of your check, right? And you don't even miss it.
Right, exactly.
But if you're not getting any matching, what I would say is I would take a hard look at that, because there's some companies I know of right now, Kevin, that if you reach out to me and come in and see me, there's some companies right now I can get you 8 to 10% matching on your 401k contributions. So if you're not getting any at all, I wouldn't necessarily say don't contribute, because it's hard in a position like mine. I don't really know enough about you to right. say yeah or no, but I would say to reach out to me and call me and come in, sit down, let's talk, and I'll show you how that we can get you 8 to 10% matching on your retirement contributions. And I think that you're going to see, quite honestly, Marc, a lot more of this happen, because companies are just going to stop making those matching contributions because of what Kevin says here.
Yeah.
Rising health insurance cost. I mean, it's all across the board. I just had a client last week tell me that their premium went from $785 a month to over $1,490 something a month.
Basically doubled, sounds like.
Yeah, doubled. Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think we've seen the slow demise of the pensions, right, over the years, of many years now.
Absolutely, yeah.
And this may be the next evolution in that, is that companies just can't afford to do the matching. Or maybe they did a certain amount. A lot of times it's like, 5 or 6% up to a certain number, so on and so forth. And so you may see alterations in that as well. So yeah, Kevin, a great question, and thank you so much for submitting that in. I would definitely say reach out to a qualified professional before you do take any action, just to make sure that you're taking the right steps and whatever your retirement or financial plan happens to be. And of course, if you don't have one, Anthony can certainly help you with that as well. 888-557-1993. Reach out to him and talk about some avenues. Maybe it's something where you continue to do a portion in your 401k, but then you move some of that money to another vehicle that Anthony's talking about. 888-557-1993. Thanks so much for the question, Kevin. And let's jump over to Knoxville. We got a question from Annie. It's a 401k kind of day here, Anthony. Annie says that most of my 401k is invested in the company that I work for stock. Do you think that's bad? Enron.
Yeah, good point. Enron. Yeah, Annie, that's I think probably the reason you ask that question is because probably in your gut that's not the best scenario, because as Mark just mentioned, Enron. Look at what happened with Enron, and
a number of other companies, right?
Oh yeah, we've seen many other companies that's happened with, where your 401k is totally invested in that company's stock, and there's some right now that I'm working with right now that this very thing has happened. And we're transitioning them from that into a more diversified portfolio. So anytime you're in one stock, I'm not going to necessarily, don't want it to sound like I'm attacking the company.
No, because it may be a great company. Yeah.
It may be a great company. It's just not a very wise thing to do to put all of your 401k in the company you work for, because man, that's kind of
well, it's like Grandma told us, right? I mean, we can say this all the time. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's just It's self-preservation, I think, Annie. At this point,
that's right.
Yeah. Because you never know. Unless you're on the board of directors, and making the decisions. How can you know really the direction the company is going to go? And again, it may be a blue chip, it may be a great company, but just for your own self-preservation, I would say definitely kind of diversify and break that up, whether that's some ETFs or mutual funds or different things. Would you agree, Anthony?
I would agree 100%. And that's the reason that folks like me have a job, right? That's our profession, is to help you properly diversify. So what I would say is I would just reach out to Annie and just say, Annie, if you'll give me a call, I'll be happy to sit down with you, and I'll go through a plan and talk with you about some proper diversification steps that we can take to protect that retirement. Because at the end of the day, Mark, if your 401k goes away and that's the only retirement you have, and I know that's a bad day.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
So I would like for Amy to reach out to me, and I'll help her with that.
Well, I tell you what, there's a couple of things you could do here, Annie. Reach out to Anthony by calling 888-557-1993 and go ahead and get on the calendar. Come in and have a consultation. There's no cost, no obligation for the initial chat. 888-557-1993. Actually, if you enjoy Facebook, while you're on Facebook, go to Retirement Specialty Group. Anthony's got a page there. He's actually he now has a new little course, if you will, or a seminar, something along those lines. You can sign up for that. Go to his page and just click on the link, and that'll walk you through some steps as well. And there's some good information to be had there, and that might be another resource to tap into as well. So that's Retirement Specialty Group on Facebook.
Webinar.
A webinar. There you go. So that's the word I was looking for.
Webinar.
Seminar, I guess when it moves to the web, becomes a webinar, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the question, Annie. We certainly appreciate it. And our final one this week, Anthony, is where's this from? This is from Crossville. I couldn't hardly read that. It is from Beth in Crossville, and it's, again, IRA and 401k kind of day. She says, Anthony, my IRA seems like it's bouncing up and down all the time. And honestly, the roller coaster is starting to drive me nuts. Does that mean that it's probably time for me to get out of the market and invest in a different way because my tolerance is at a limit?
Well, the key there is her tolerance.
Exactly,
right?
Yep.
You've heard me talk about this before. I'm not anti-market. I'm just anti the stock market taking all your money away, right?
Right.
So if you use the rule of 100, that keeps us very well balanced. But what I would say here to Beth is if the roller coaster makes you sick and you go to Here in Tennessee, it's Dollywood. But,
Sure,
you know, if you go to an amusement park and the roller coaster makes you sick, what do? You don't ride it.
Right.
So I would say use the same advice here, Beth. You know, if the roller coaster ride drives you crazy, you don't like that, then I would say, yes, it is time to make a change. It is time to do something different because, Mark, at the end of the day, it all boils down to what is our personal risk tolerance. You know, some people can ride out the ups and downs. Some people can't. So I would say in this situation where Beth says, hey, this roller coaster ride is driving me nuts, then in that instance, in that case, I would say, yes, it's time to make some adjustments. It's time to make some changes. That's the reason that you and I talk a lot on the radio program about the financial GPS and about working from a plan, because if we can put that plan in action and know exactly where we're going and what we're going to do, then we can know what's going to happen with the ups and downs of our money. Because if we've got 70% at risk, we're going to get a different return than if we have 30% at risk. So again, using that rule of 100 would help Beth here, and following a plan and going by a very well-designed plan like we do. So what I would say to Beth is reach out to me, Beth, and I'll let you tell them how to get in touch with me, Mark. But what I would say is get in touch with me, Beth. Let's get that put into a plan, and let's make sure that you are properly diversified, and let's make sure that you're in the right investment vehicle that suits your style and suits your personality, so that you're not staying up at night, you know, sick to your stomach, so to speak here. So it's not driving you crazy. So I'll let you tell them how to get in touch with us, Mark.
All right. Well, reach out to Anthony and the team at 888-557-1993. That is 888-557-1993. Get yourself on the calendar. Come in for that no cost, no obligation consultation. If you have at least $100,000 or more saved for retirement, Anthony can certainly help you get onto the right path towards retirement. He'll be able to go through the different steps, the different facets that make up your retirement plan, your investment plan, and make sure you're on the right course. That's looking at your Social Security, looking at your investments. All those pieces come into play as well. So make sure you reach out to him right now, 888-557-1993, to get started today with your financial GPS from Retirement Specialty Group. You're listening to Retire the Right Way. We'll be back after this.
What is the one thing more precious than gold, cannot be bought or sold, and that we all wish to have more of? Did you guess time? If so, that's correct. Time, and it is fleeting. So let's not let time stand in our way. Pick up the phone and call Anthony Wright at Retirement Specialty Group today and make sure your retirement plans will be ready and waiting right on time. Call 888-557-1993. That's 888-557-1993.
Retirement Specialty Group's logo is a lion, L-I-O-N. It stands for loving individuals over numbers. And I think we all could use a little more of that. Now, back to the show.
You're back here with us on Retire the Right Way. Mark Killian and Anthony right here riding alongside you today on the program. If you're driving around or out in the yard or whatever it is that you might be doing, thank you so much for staying tuned into the program. Make sure you grab yourself a pen, pencil, crayon, eyeliner, soy sauce, ketchup packet, whatever it is that you have that you can write with, and write this number down because it's so important that you reach out to Anthony and get yourself on the calendar. 888-557-1993. That is 888-557-1993. Anthony and I have been on the air for a couple of years now, and we certainly appreciate the listeners that we have, and we know it's so important that we reach out to everyone who is, approaching retirement. Maybe you're a retiree or a pre-retiree, and make sure that you are on the right path towards retirement, because you certainly don't want to have any missteps in the fourth quarter, if you will. So make sure you reach out, 888-557-1993. There's no cost, there's no obligation. Very simple process to come in and sit down and just talk about your situation, and you may find that it's a good fit for you to become a client. You may not. Either way, it's totally fine. 888-557-1993. All right, Anthony, let's talk about debt and retirement planning. Debt, that's a 4-letter word. And it's one of those things where, there's two schools of thought, I guess, when it comes to the debt situation in our financial plans and our retirement plans. So let's talk a little bit about this. First of all, we'll hop around here a little bit. Do you think there is such a thing as good debt? Now, we've often heard this term, and I think it's usually associated with like your mortgage. But how do you feel about quote unquote good debt?
Well, I have no problem with good debt, and the listeners know that I talk about it a lot. I work with 4 CPAs here at my firm, so I'm around that a lot, and I kind of agree with them. Debt really has to do with what income bracket you're in, what type of money that you're making, and what bracket you're in when it comes to taxes. If you're in the high end of the tax bracket, so you're up there around 38 or 40%, debt is going to be a great thing because debt is going to knock that down. So, a lot of people currently in the news, you'll see that there's a lot going on about taxes, and you'll see that the president of the United States, they'll say, well, he doesn't pay his fair share. Well, he does pay his fair share, but because he's in such a high tax bracket, and because he's worth however many billions of dollars now. So debt to him is a good thing because that knocks down that tax bracket. If you're, 60, 65, 70, 75, and you're retired and you're living on a fixed income, I'm not quite sure there's anything that really is a good debt because, one, you're fixed on an income, so you're only going to get X amount of dollars. That's your fixed income. 2, you're not really in a higher tax bracket. You might be in a 10 to 15% tax bracket. So in that scenario, I'm not really sure you want any debt, Mark, to be honest with you, at that phase. Now,
Right.
If somebody finds themselves retired and they find themselves where they've taken care of the children for their lifetime and they've still got a mortgage debt, that's okay. Look, I deal with retirees every day that have mortgage debt, and we're able to manage that, and we're able to handle that, and we can get them through it. And at the end of the day, the mortgage is a fixed cost. So if it's fixed and that you can count on it to be there, then we can plan for that. So I don't want anybody listening today that if you've got a mortgage or you're in debt, don't beat yourself up because, Mark, the one thing as you mentioned earlier, we've been doing this several years now, and one thing every single person that comes through the door of my office, it's a different circumstance.
Oh, yeah.
There's no 2 people that walk in here that I can go, well, gee, debt's horrible, or
Right.
you just can't put that label.
Yeah, insert person A
On
in
everybody,
the slot
right.
A, right? Yeah, and we say that all the time because one of the things that we do here with the program is we do talk about topics and concepts and things, but we speak in generalities because it's the radio program and we are talking to a wide audience. But you specifically, each person out there listening is an individual, and your situation is certainly going to be different. So we're talking about debt and retirement planning, and so I do agree with you. I think that there are some good debts. I think that you certainly don't want to hit retirement with bad debt, which is high credit card debt, things of that nature. Now, other people on the airwaves, they say you got to be completely debt-free before you retire. And I think some people get very concerned about that. Do you think that someone needs to be debt-free before they retire?
I can say being debt-free before you retire will make life easier.
That's true. But I don't think it's a prerequisite, right?
I don't think it's a prerequisite, but it would
certainly
definitely
would
make
help,
it
yeah.
easier. I mean, let's be honest. If
Sure.
you're drawing, whatever your monthly check is coming in, and all of a sudden you don't have to spend that on debt, that's a pretty good day.
Sure, absolutely.
So, yeah, I agree. I think you hit the nail right on the head. It's not necessarily a prerequisite, but hey, let's just be honest with one another here that if you could go into retirement debt-free, I mean, I've got some clients right now that you would be surprised, Mark, on how little that they draw for retirement. And I'm telling you, they have no issues at all. They just rock right along, and quite honestly, they have a great lifestyle, and it's just simply because they have no debt.
And that's a tough discipline, though, because I think for most of us, that's just not going to be the case, right?
I agree.
Right.
And we see it more so with the senior market because a lot of folks go ahead and pay their debts off and they get things paid off. But then when you get behind us, if you start looking in the future, it's pretty scary because I just don't think a lot of people behind us in the future are going to go into retirement debt-free because they seem to be very debt-oriented and very driven by that debt.
Well, it's a bit indicative of the culture for sure. I would agree with you. And that's why I think that it's good to have the conversation about managing that debt and really, and another four-letter word, it's not a four-letter word, but people associate it, is budget. But if you put yourself on a budget, you can seriously make a dent in your debt leading up to your retirement. And we're not talking 20 years. We're talking, less than 10, I would say is completely plausible. Let's say 55 to 65, you could certainly get yourself on a budget. You could sit down and work with a retirement planner, with a specialist like yourself, with an advisor who can help you structure a budget, look at the whole situation, and then really make a serious dent on your way towards retirement. Would you agree?
I agree 100%, because if you're working and you know that in 10 years you're going to retire and you've got that income coming in, one thing that I've seen people do over the past years, Mark, is along the way you'll get a tax return or you'll get a bonus or you'll get something over and above your extra pay. I even had one client, I said, how did you end up paying your mortgage off? He said, real simple, Anthony. Every year at Christmas time, and I love this, Mark. I've never forgot this. He said, every year at Christmas time, for Christmas, for me and my wife, our Christmas present was we took one house payment and we paid that toward the principal of the house. Now, how simple is that? And I said, John, that is incredible. And he said,
great,
every year at Christmas time, I think he told me their mortgage at that time as they were working was, I think he said it was $1,700 a month, I believe is what he said. And every year, so they would pay that mortgage payment every month like clockwork. And then they get to the end of the year, they'd go ahead and pay the December payment, but they would take an additional $1,700 and mail it in and say, apply this toward the principal.
Wow, nice.
And he paid their house off in 15 years. So you just said 10, okay, which is
right.
very plausible. I mean, hey, 10's not bad. But, I thought, wow, what a genius. I mean, they paid that off. They paid that house off by just sending in for Christmas every year a house payment. Said, here, please apply this toward the principal. I've never forgot that. I thought, man, that is outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely. And it all comes back to, working with an advisor, working with a plan, getting a plan together, and then working through that process. And Anthony can certainly help you out with that. 888-557-1993. You're listening to Retire the Right Way with Anthony Wright from Retirement Specialty Group. 888-557-1993. Anthony, we'll finish off our debt and retirement planning. You kind of already answered this and really just kind of told a story about it, but do you think that is kind of more common than people realize, that if you get together and work a plan, that plan will also help you reduce your debt as you move into retirement? Waiting until 65, okay, that's fine. It happens. People do that. You can still do that as well. But getting started a little sooner, and not even a lot sooner like we talked about, 5, 10, 15 years, anything makes a big difference. But you got to have that plan and work the budget together, right?
I agree 100%. I couldn't agree more. You got to get the plan together and work the plan, because people can't fly by the seat of their pants and then get there and go, wow, gee, I don't know what happened. And, just me personally, now here I am, 48 years old. And so I'm quickly approaching the big 50, coming up here in a couple of years.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So my wife and I hired an attorney / CPA, and we sat down and we did a plan. So I'm not just sitting here saying you need a plan. I'm telling you, me personally, my wife and I sat down with a plan. We have a plan. We know where we're headed. We know where we're going. And let's see, I'm 12 years now to being 60. So, 12 to 15 year plan, and I know where I'm going and how I'm going to get there. And I think so many times you're spot on. So many times people don't sit down and put together a plan, and then they get there and they go, oh, wow, what happened? But I can tell you, Mark, there are many, many clients that I meet with that they do create substantial wealth just simply because they don't have any debt. And I can think of client after client after client that I have worked with over the years that you will be surprised how much wealth they have created and they have accumulated just because they didn't have a ton of debt, because they took 10 or 15 years and they worked that plan and they paid that debt off. And when you pay that debt off and you don't have money going out the bottom of your bucket, so if you got water in your bucket and all of a sudden there's more draining out the bottom than you got in the bucket, you got a problem, right?
Right.
So if you stop up the holes in the bottom of the bucket, you'll be surprised how much water you can carry, and you'll be surprised how far you can get down the road. So like you said earlier, Mark, it's easy to get in touch with me, 888-557-1993. And I got a special offer for everybody today. We want to extend an opportunity to the listeners right now that will help them be sure that they're well prepared. So what I'm doing is I'm offering a complimentary financial review to those listeners today. And for those that are listening, if you call in the next 15 minutes and you have at least $100,000 saved for retirement, I'm not a miracle worker, can't do something without nothing. So if you've at least got $100,000 saved for retirement, then we will talk about your retirement income needs, what that income is going to come from, how you'll outpace inflation, pay as little as you possibly have to in taxes. Make sure that you don't outlive your money. Now, you might say, I don't really have to call in the next 15 minutes. And yes, that's true. You could probably take care of it next week or maybe next month. But here's the deal. We've been coaching people on retirement planning for a decade now. And we've learned that it's really easy to procrastinate and get distracted and put things off. I've learned over the past decade dealing with people, that's the number one problem. They procrastinate, they get distracted, they put it off. So if you don't start the process now, today, there's a very good chance that you're not going to do it at all. So the first coaching that we're going to give to you is to encourage you to take that first step right now. I mean, Mark, imagine if Peyton Manning never took the first step and picked up a football. So you got to take the first step now. So for almost everybody listening, that's going to be the hardest part, is to pick up the phone and take action now. From there, it's really not a painful process. It's really pretty simple. Believe it or not, I'm a fairly nice, easy guy to sit down and talk to. So it's pretty easy past that. So if you're ready to finally get a plan in place, give me a call right now.
That number again is 888-557-1993 to take advantage of this great opportunity from Anthony Wright at Retirement Specialty Group. 888-557-1993. You're listening to Retire the Right Way. More to come after this.
Hey folks, Miss Lita here. Are you tired of financial pitchmen who think the same square peg financial plan is the right fit for every retiree? Then do yourself a favor and call Anthony Wright at Retirement Specialty Group and see what it's like to work with an advisor with a plan and not a salesperson with a pitch. Call 888-557-1993 and experience the difference.
It's time for another fireside chat as we get to know Anthony Wright and his team at Retirement Specialty Group just a little bit better.
Well, it's getting to know you time here on Retire the Right Way. Marc Killian and Anthony Wright. This is that part of the show where we step away from the financial chatter for a moment or two and get to know Anthony just a hair better outside the financial realm. And a lot of times we ask random and off-the-wall questions. And this one's pretty good, actually. This one's pretty, I'd be curious to find out the answer to this, Anthony. What would you like your life to look like 10 years from now? Because I know you're a pretty happy guy. Where do you see yourself 10 years?
Yeah, I'm a real optimistic guy. I mean, honestly, I really feel like that 10 years from now, I really feel like I pretty much know where I'm headed, and I think that I'm going to hit my 10-year goals. And, I don't know how to put it into words, but I think that I'll still have a same happy family and good health and prosperity and be with my family and friends. And, that's just the kind of guy I am. I enjoy hanging out with my family, my grandkids, my kids, and just enjoying life. I mean, I enjoy life every day. I'm just, you said it, I'm an optimist. I'm not a pessimistic person. I'm not a negative person. So, 10 years from now, I think I'll probably just still be enjoying life and enjoying my family and enjoying. People say, well, you're going to be retired? No, probably not.
Oh, you won't be old enough then, yeah.
I'll only be 58 years old.
That's right.
So, and I have a great life, and God's good to me, and I enjoy every day, man. I get up every day and hit the floor looking forward to a new day, and it's a blank canvas, and I'm going to go create it and paint my own picture.
Oh, I like that. Well said. That was well said. Well, that's our getting to know you here on Retire the Right Way, and, it's always a good sunny day in Anthony's world. If you'd like to talk to him, 888-557-1993. That is 888-557-1993. We'll get back to the financial talk in just a moment.
For your free financial GPS, call 888-557-1993. That's 888-557-1993 for your no-cost, no-obligation consultation.
We all want to walk the right path through life, but every so often we all need a little guidance along the way. Sometimes the hardest part is just asking for help. That's where we come in. Now, back to the show.
Well, we're cruising along here on Retire the Right Way. Thank you so much for staying tuned into the program. Mark Killian alongside Anthony Wright from Retirement Specialty Group. If you are in Knoxville, Chattanooga, Crossville, Sparta, or all points in between, Anthony and the team at Retirement Specialty Group can certainly help you on your way to a retirement plan that will work for you and work for your situation, your investing plan, your strategy, if you will. You can reach out to him at 888-557-1993. That is 888-557-1993 to get your financial GPS underway. No cost, no obligation, but you do have to take the action to reach out to Anthony, get yourself on the calendar. Don't forget you can stop by his website, retirementspecialtygroup.com, and you can also check him out on Facebook. He's got a great new webinar there that you can sign up for. And again, no cost, no obligation. Just go to the Retirement Specialty Group on Facebook, and you'll see that. You'll be able to click on the link, follow along through there. And again, no cost, no obligation to you. Another great resource that Anthony provides at Retirement Specialty Group. All right, Anthony, let's discuss mutual funds today, sir, on the program.
Ooh, that'll be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, they've long been kind of the most popular way, really, for people to invest. But the landscape is beginning to change, right? So it's starting to, more ETFs and things of that nature. So let's discuss it a little bit. So
Sure, yeah.
what percentage would you say when you first meet with clients, people come in, that they probably own mutual funds in one form or another when they first come to see you? Pretty high?
Probably just about 95%.
Okay. And that's because it's a collection of things, whether it's target date funds or in a 401k or whatever, right?
Yep. You're spot on.
Okay, so in this situation, I think we need to learn a little bit more about what's in the mutual funds and things that it can affect and why it's important. So like an expense ratio. Tell us what an expense ratio is and why we need to know what that is and understand it.
Well, the expense ratio, you got to understand the key word here, Mark, that you used was it was popular at one time.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
So these ETFs, the reason they're so popular now is because they don't have that expense ratio. So they don't have that built in there, these funds. Because let's just say a client comes in. Let's say a client wants to, let's just use $100,000 as example, and the client wants to buy $100,000 of Class A mutual funds. Well, that Class A mutual fund purchase is going to cost them somewhere around up front, somewhere close to 4%. So now instead of investing $100,000, now they're only going to invest $96,000. That's the commission side. You've still got in that mutual fund, you've still got the expense ratio built in. You've got the 12B1 fees. So now you're going to have a whole nother expense ratio charge there. And those, that expense ratio is going to run somewhere, I don't know. Sometimes we see them 1%, real close to 1%. So, not only are you paying these upfront commissions, but you're also paying these expense ratios. The other problem that folks were having with mutual funds that I was seeing is the key word mutual. Well, that means that you mutually own these. And so what happens is if you're in 100 different stocks, now probably more so back when you and I were younger than we are now. I still like to think you and I are young men.
No, I would definitely agree.
Don't you agree with me?
No, I agree 10,000%.
So I might be 48, but I'm still a young man.
That's right.
But back when we were in our 20s, we heard a lot of push on mutual funds, and it was because you could buy 100 different stocks. Well, what happened in 2008 when the market corrected or collapsed or whatever term you want to use, is just because you were in 100 different stocks did not make you protected from that drop and from that dip. And so if you had a 401k and that 401k was in 100 different stocks because you were in a mutually owned company, which is called a mutual fund, then your 401k became a 201k.
Right.
So people started going, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't know I could be in a mutual fund and lose all that money. So then on top of that, they turn around, they go, well, not only did I have all this upfront commission that I paid, then what about all these expense ratios that's built in here? Wow, hang on. Now you're telling me I've lost 50%. So,
and there's also the turnover ratio too. Every time if you're working with an advisor or broker who's moving you a lot, you're also paying a turnover ratio. So you have to.
That's right.
Yeah. So you definitely got to watch out for some of these things. Well, you mentioned, what you paid on the front end. So let's talk about loaded funds for a second. By the way, you're listening to Retire the Right Way. If you'd like to talk to Anthony Wright, it's 888-557-1993. We're discussing mutual funds here on the program. So loaded mutual funds, Anthony, there's front load, back load, and no load. Give us a quick breakdown.
Well, you pretty much if you just kind of follow the name.
Right.
Just kind of follow the name, kind of follow front load. That means it's going to be front loaded.
Yeah, you're paying going in, right?
You're paying going in on the front end. Back load, it's on the back side. You're going to pay when you sell that C share or that B share. So
there are situations where you may not, but that depends on the length, right? The length of the term.
Depends on the length, the term. Yep, you got it.
Okay.
But on the no load, now this is the big confusing one here because everybody says, well, no load, that means
there's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I was hoping you were going to go there. Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're not doing it for free, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So just because they say it's a no load, that doesn't mean that you're not paying any fees and you're not paying anything. So you got to be really, really careful. And I'll be very blunt. You asked me how many people come in with mutual funds. I told you probably 95%.
Yes, sir.
Of that 95%, you want to know how many of them understand the fees?
Maybe 2%.
Oh, yeah, nada, zero.
Right.
I mean, the 10 years I've been doing this now, I don't know that I've had a single person. They come in, they understand, we got mutual funds, and then I start talking to them about, like you were talking about, I started talking to them about the expense ratio on the fund. I start talking to them about, because this financial GPS that we do points out these expense ratios on the mutual funds, the no load, just exactly, you may not be in charge of those fees. I thought I had no load funds, and they have no clue. And it's so sad because 95% of the people will be in them, but nobody understands they're being charged fees and expense ratios and all that. And occasionally that 2% you're talking about, occasionally somebody will say, yeah, I knew I got charged, 4 or 5.5% up front, and I knew that was the commission occasionally. But that is so rare that people know what they're paying and what they're charging that it becomes, you hate to use the word comical, but it becomes, I guess, shocking. It becomes shocking when people are sitting in front of me and I'm like, do you understand all these fees and these charges? And they're like, I didn't know I was getting charged anything. I had a guy just a few weeks ago, he just got really, he was like, no, I am absolutely being charged no fees. And I was like, now think about what you're Think about what you're telling me.
Right.
So the company is going to take your money, and they're just not going to charge anything.
Right. They're going to help you make money and not charge. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because they think you're a great guy.
Right. Yeah. You got to be smarter than that. No free lunches.
No free lunches. Yep.
Well, I think that it's important that you do understand. We say this all the time, right? It's so important that you understand not only what you are invested in, but also what it costs you. Now, we're not talking about knowing all the nuts and bolts and every single aspect of it, because that's what you have a professional like Anthony Wright on your side for. But it's important to have a good working understanding. And so, especially even with mutual funds, I think it's still a useful tool, right, in the tool belt of our retirement plan. Certainly something that you probably still use within your client portfolios, yes?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's, at the end of the day, you want people to be diversified, and I'm not anti-mutual fund, just like I'm not anti-stock market, right? So, I mean, you want people to, mutual funds is not a problem, ETFs are not a problem, dividend-paying stocks are not a problem. It's just, hey, listen, I know we're not talking about this, but we're talking about mutual funds and ETFs. But I get asked a lot, well, what about real estate? Fine. You got some real estate paying, good rental income. Listen, it's all about when you get to retirement, living the same lifestyle retired that you lived when you were working. And however you do that, if that's mutual funds, if that's ETFs, if that's real estate. But here's the thing, just be educated and understand what you're getting into and understand the positives and understand the negatives of it. Right, Mark? I mean, At the end of the day, am I not spot on there?
No, you're definitely spot on there. And that's why it's so important to get the financial GPS, under your belt and get working towards that, correct?
Absolutely. So here's what we're going to do today. So, Mark, right now, I'd like to offer the listeners an opportunity to come in for a complimentary financial review. Now, what am I going to offer? I'm going to offer this review absolutely free as long as you have at least $100,000 saved for retirement. I'm not trying to be mean, not trying to be rude. I just can't do something with a goose egg zero. So we got to have a little bit saved for retirement before I can help. So if you've got at least $100,000 saved for retirement, then I can help you. So we're really, really, really passionate about making sure that our clients have all their bases covered in the retirement plan. For instance here, Social Security. Well, at what age should you start taking that benefit, and then how does it fit into your overall income picture? So most people run down to office, Social Security office, turn it on at 62, and they take a huge 25% haircut. Anyway, going to take a look at when do you turn on Social Security? How much risk are you taking in your portfolio? And is that amount of risk appropriate for your age and for the amount of return that you're actually getting? How much are you paying in fees and commissions with your current plan? What about the tax implications of your savings? Is there a way to save money in taxes down the road by planning proactively right now? Do you have an income plan in place to be sure that you aren't in danger of running out of money? Nothing worse than getting to retirement and running out of money. If you end up living 30 or more years in retirement, then you stand a chance of running out of money. Don't let that happen. Do you have a plan to address inflation in future decades as the cost of every single thing you buy continues to go up? Mark, you can't buy anything cheap nowadays. Everything is going up. What about long-term care? Oh, my word, that's through the roof already. But do you have a plan for how you're going to pay for that assisted living or that nursing home if you need it? If leaving a legacy is important to you, have you determined the best way to pass that money to the future generations? Folks, I don't think you want your children and your grandchildren paying 40, 50% in taxes. So we take a look at that legacy planning. Obviously, there is a lot that we have to discuss. And if we found one thing at all, we have found that most people just hasn't planned thoroughly enough to address all these issues, and they get themselves in trouble. So if you've been managing your retirement and you've been doing that all by yourself, and you now realize that there's a lot of these issues that I've mentioned that you really haven't even addressed, or if you're now realizing that your current planner or your current advisor hasn't been helping you think through all these issues thoroughly, by the way, they should be, but not everybody does. So today is your chance to get a true comprehensive plan put in place. So again, keep in mind this review is complimentary if you have at least $100,000 saved for retirement. But folks, you got to keep in mind, you guys have been following me on here and listening to Mark and I for several years now. The calendar fills up very, very quickly. So go ahead, give me a call today, right now. Don't put it off any longer. Don't procrastinate. Call today so I can be sure that I get you a spot reserved on my calendar so we can sit down and address these issues and get them took care of for you. So call me today.
You're listening to Retire the Right Way. To take advantage of this great opportunity from Anthony Wright, call 888-557-1993. There's no cost, there's no obligation. You just have to take some action. Reach out to Anthony. Don't procrastinate and call him right now. 888-557-1993. More to come after this.
Lewis Carroll once said, "If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there." Now, while that may be true, wouldn't it be better to know where you are going and exactly how to get there? With a customized financial GPS from Retirement Specialty Group, you won't have to wonder if any road you take towards retirement will work, because you will know that you are getting there right on time. For your free financial GPS, call 888-557-1993. That's 888-557-1993 for your no-cost, no-obligation consultation. Did you know Tennessee has a state slogan, America at its best? And we couldn't agree more. Keep listening to Retire the Right Way.
You're listening to Retire the Right Way. Thank you so much for staying tuned into the program. We are cruising down the home stretch today on the show. And if you'd like to reach out to Anthony Wright, who is alongside of me, as always, on the program, for a no-cost, no-obligation consultation about your specific, unique financial situation, well, then reach out to him at 888-557-1993. That's 888-557-1993. You can also find him on Facebook at Retirement Specialty Group. Again, go to Facebook and type in Retirement Specialty Group. Like the page, and you'll also see that there is a new webinar on there you can take. No cost, no obligation as well. Just go ahead and click into that and learn some good content through that process as well. But 888-557-1993, always the easiest way to get in touch with Anthony and get yourself on the appointment calendar for your financial GPS. So, Anthony, let's finish off today's program talking about defensive mechanisms. We all have them, right?
Sure. Yeah, we do.
We employ them in a lot of facets of our life. But we're going to talk about retirement, obviously. So some people say they don't want to retire, and, well, they actually really mean it. They just do not want to retire. I almost see you in this category as well. I know you love what you do, and I can see you maybe cutting back on your hours when you get older, but I can see you still not wanting to retire, just because you love what you do. But other people, they say things as a defensive mechanism because they are afraid they can't retire, or they are unsure about how to retire. And I love
Let me hit the $300 million Powerball. You'll see how fast I retire.
Okay, well, then I guess I stand corrected.
No, I'm just totally playing. I'm totally jabbing you, man. Totally
I know you are. Well, but we do have people that use the "I love my career" as an excuse, right? And they probably really do love their career. But I think
I do love my career. Yeah. You are spot on. I don't even play the Powerball. I just messing around with you.
But for a lot of others, the idea of walking away from something that you do enjoy so much is a bit daunting.
It is a bit daunting. And I mean, look, some people really just enjoy their career. Let's be honest here. I mean, they don't have no desire to stop going to work every day. Listen, I know a guy right now that's 83 years old, and he's still working. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, who wants to sit around and get bored, right?
Right. Well, we're going to talk about that one in a minute.
Yeah, but who wants to sit around and stare at four walls? I mean, I have no problem with that. And, they might be in a financial position that, they could have retired years ago, but they just love what they do and do what they love. And I mean, I don't really have a problem with that. But with that being said, I mean, at some point their health, changes in the industry, or the disappearance of their company may not allow them to continue working as long as they want.
Right,
so It's important to have a plan and, kind of know the direction that you're wanting to go, and you can kind of plan around those circumstances and kind of the best way you know how. That's the reason I jokingly said that to you. I mean, I know because I have a plan, and I know where I'm headed, and I know how I'm going to get there, and I know that in 12 to 15 years that I'm
going to be able
to take control of my destiny, and I know where I'm headed, and I know I'm going to be there. So, and you're spot on. I love my career. I love what I do.
Well, I'll tell you what. Now, all joking aside, this is actually a statistic, and it's true and sad. 27% of the American population thinks that the Powerball or some form of lottery is their retirement plan. That's just not smart. I mean, that's just 27, almost 30, basically 1/3 of the country thinks that that's going to be how they retire. And that's just not smart. You can plan much easier than you think you can. You can get a plan in place a lot easier, and a strategy. And it doesn't necessarily matter about, how much you make. I know that there has been situations where people have, obviously if you make more, it's a little easier, but when you make more, you spend more. So you really just have to make sure that you're talking to somebody about your situation and really working through it, because you might be surprised where you're at a little bit farther along than you think. But you did mention being bored. Okay, so that's another defensive mechanism that people will sometimes use. Well, I don't want to retire, Anthony, because I'd just be bored.
Well, I mean, these people might not have that burning passion, for their career, but they still find their job better than the alternative of just not having any responsibilities. I mean, for many of those people, just simply getting a different job can be a nice way to ease into retirement. So
True.
Maybe they retire from their career and get a simpler, less stressful job that might not pay as much, but gives them a better quality of life, and while also preventing them from having to go cold turkey, so to speak, on getting out of the workforce. So in these cases, it's important to explore the income planning implications of moving into a job with a little lower salary and maybe keeping the same job but just moving to part-time.
Well, that's a good point, because if you are making a change like that, you do want to make sure that you do explore those the income planning implications, because you want to make sure that you have enough to cover, obviously to cover your bills and things of that nature, and continue, on the plan that you may have in place. Maybe you don't have one at all, and if that's the case, well, then certainly you're at the right place for that here on Retire the Right Way. Reach out to Anthony and the team at 888-557-1993 to talk about, retiring, or talk about being a pre-retiree, and getting on the right path. Or maybe you already are retired and you aren't quite exactly where you want to be. Maybe you need to make a change, make a shift in the retirement strategy. 888-557-1993 is the number to call. 888-557-1993. Okay, now, Anthony, here's the more serious one that's a good defensive mechanism. Both of those were good reasons, but sometimes people just say, I just don't have enough money to retire.
Right. I mean, maybe they've done the necessary planning, right? I mean,
they could have.
And just determined that they really can't retire right now for financial reasons. I mean, nothing wrong with that, but
at least right?
Well, at least and most people don't really have a plan. You and I say that all the time. The 10 years I've been doing this, nobody ever walks in with a plan. It just blows my mind. But they never do, and they're actually surprised to find out that
that's what I was saying. Yep.
Yeah, they're in better shape than they realize. And I had a couple come in this past week, and I think this might be the first time that I've really been surprised. But basically, they started about 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, and their motto was we work hard for our money, and we're not going to let the stock market take it away from us. And so they basically just stored it in a checking account, savings account, money market. And I was blown away that here they find themselves 15 to 20 years down the road, and they had seven figures.
That's some discipline
just
right there.
just by you think that you don't have enough money, and they even thought they didn't have enough money. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, you guys were able to put away that kind of money just by putting it in your savings account. So, you may not think you have enough money, but for that group that thinks that, I think it's important that you've got at least an income plan that shows you exactly where you stand. And if you do find yourself in not good shape, at least you'll know what you need to do to fix it. And who knows? I mean, you might be in for a pleasant surprise, like I was, like they were.
Right.
When you map it all out. Because when I sat down and mapped it all out, and I said, "Have you guys ever thought about taking this out of your savings account and creating this income plan?" And they're like, "No, we just didn't want to lose it."
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, now that you're ready for retirement, here's what you can do. Holy smoke. When I figured out their income was going to be more than they were making, they couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Well, I know we were talking off air before we even started the show, about a gentleman that you had a couple of months back. I forget what his name was now, but he was talking about how he came in and he had all his information and he sat down with you and you were looking at it and he's like, here's what, my monthly expenses are, in retirement, and here's what I'm going to need. And he went through the situation and whatever the dollar amount was, and you were like, wait a minute, you need to refigure this because I don't think you're doing this right. So you walked him through the GPS, had him go back, recalculate his information for you, and bring it back, and it wound up being less. He wound up needing like $3,800 a month to retire on, and he was blown away because I think he thought he needed somewhere over like double that. And so he winds up sitting down and realizing that he could actually retire if he wanted to, because the 38 he had easy. He had that covered easy. He was thinking he needed somewhere around $6,000 or something, and he was going to have a shortfall, and he was all worried about how he was going to pay his bills. But he didn't know because he just had everything kind of scattered around, and he didn't pull it together right. And that's where that GPS really kind of helped him pull it together. And I think that brings us to our final point, that final mechanism of sometimes there's just not enough confidence in either your portfolio, your plan, or even yourself or your advisor to know that you could walk away if you're ready.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance that type person's got enough money to retire, but they just haven't seen that comprehensive income plan like the folks I just explained to you that
Right.
give them the confidence, that they needed in their own personal nest egg. And in fairness, it's hard to be confident in a collection of products that you've possibly been sold, so to speak, if you want to use that term. But instead of being confident in the money that they've saved over the years and the ability to meet their needs in retirement, so their confidence is derived from that ability in continuing to earn that income. And for folks like that, like I just told you, the ones that were just in my office last week, that true income plan that they could understand and have confidence in was a game changer to those folks.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, they had accumulated 7 figures and it was over $1 million, but they really, truly, Mark, they were blown away when I presented an income plan. They just couldn't believe it. They were just like, seriously? And I was like, yes, seriously.
You had to have it, right.
And it never stops. It goes your entire life.
Yeah.
And then, and then when he passed, it would go to his wife. So, yeah, it was just a game changer to them. So that's the reason I wrote the book, the Financial GPS.
Yep.
And the reason I did is because of 10 years of doing this, so many people on a daily basis that we're seeing in all 4 of my office locations, and they just simply don't have a plan. And so I thought, I have got to write a book. We get in our automobile and we plug in that address of where we're going and how we want to get there, so to speak. And that thing gives us turn-by-turn directions. Yeah. And I thought, it's time to do a financial GPS. And so that's when I sat down and I wrote the book, The Financial GPS. And then I created the proprietary product, The Financial GPS, to look at all those expense ratio fees, look at what's being paid, look at what the upfront costs are, and see what these 12B1 fees, and see what, so that you know what you're being paid, and so that people know and folks know this is how much is coming out of your account, and this is what's being charged. So you know what I'm going to do today, Mark, for the next 10 people that give me a call, I'm going to give them a copy of my new book, The Financial GPS. Don't have to go to Amazon and order it. I'm going to give it to the next 10 people that call me at 888-557-1993. So the next 10 people listening to the show today, and you pick up the phone and call me in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to give you a free book. So pick up the phone, call me now, 888-557-1993, or shoot me a text. What is that, 555-888?
Yep.
And put the word RSG for Retirement Specialty Group. So text RSG to 555-888, or call me, 888-557-1993. Next 10 people, you're getting a free copy of my book called Financial GPS.
Well, it's a great offer from Anthony Wright, folks. Go ahead and take action right now. Call 888-557-1993. Look, there's no cost, there's no obligation to get started. Not only do you get the complimentary book, but you also will get a great conversation with Anthony and make sure that you're headed in the right financial direction. You may find that it's a good fit for you to go ahead and work together and get that financial GPS and get yourself on the right path to retirement. You may find that you don't need to, or you may find that you just need to part ways, and that's totally fine. But there's no reason to not go ahead and call, because it is complimentary, and after 30, 40, 45, 50 years of working, certainly it's worth an hour of your time to get that second opinion, or maybe it's the first opinion on your retirement plan. Our show is all about retirees and pre-retirees, and we certainly hope that you pick up a useful nugget or two of information that can help you down the right road for retirement. But make sure you call Anthony Wright to ensure that you're on the right path. 888-557-1993 gets you your complimentary financial GPS today. 888-557-1993. The road to success has many twists and turns, but a financial GPS from Anthony Wright can help you get to and through retirement. As always, Anthony, thanks for being here. I appreciate your time and your wisdom.
Thanks for being with me, Mark. Have a great week.
We will do it all again next week right here on Retire the Right Way with Anthony Wright. Bye-bye.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.